Everyone, it's Jen Kim. I am the founder of Masterbrand Institute, and I want to talk about how you can become an epic storyteller, just like Bad Bunny is. A couple weeks ago when we had that whole meme going, like 2016 versus 2026, and it trips me out that Bad Bunny, Benito, had he was working at a grocery store bagging groceries in 2016. And on Sunday, he entertained the world on the biggest stage possible and put together a production in 13 minutes that told me, as a brand strategist and a futurist who can predict and smell when something's going to be successful, like can smell the money, of how Bad Bunny used his own flavor of unique messaging to become the baddie that he is. And before I go into that, let me just say, at the moment I saw those sugarcane fields on the field in Levi Stadium at the San Francisco 49ers field, because I live in the San Francisco Bay Area and the Niners are my team. And at first I was bummed that the Seahawks and the Patriots were playing. I knew that the halftime show and the ads, which I'll do a breakdown on the ads too at some point, were going to be something that I didn't want to miss. So when I saw those sugarcane fields, I was verklempt. I was crying like a baby. My husband and I grew up in the rural countryside of Hawaii where literally sugarcane was my front yard and my backyard. We used to like cut down cane in the afternoon to have a sweet snack. We made vinegar from sugarcane. I'm Filipino. My grandparents immigrated to Hawaii to work in those really harsh fields of dreams. And when Ricky Martin came on and sang the song that Bad Bunny wrote that includes Hawaii, Hawaii and Puerto Rico have so many synergies and affinities. I mean, one of our homegrown sons is Bruno Mars. He's half Filipino, half Puerto Rican. So anyway, all of it was a vibe for our family, our culture, our upbringing. And now I live in the most innovative place, at least in the United States, which is the San Francisco Bay Area. So it all kind of came full circle for me. But let's get to the point here about what Bad Bunny did to become right now the biggest star in the world and still standing on a platform of what he believes in, honoring his craft, and then sharing joy with the world. So it's a 3-part framework. I call it the unique message model. And it's 3 S's: your standards, your stories, and your solutions. And every time you're building a brand, and if you're an entrepreneur and you want to get more business from it, using the lens of your standards, your stories, and your solutions, and connecting the 3 in a very powerful, potent way that's on brand for you is going to make you an epic storyteller. And that's really what Bad Bunny is. So what I mean by standards, let's go through standards first. Standards are basically, what do you stand for? What are the values you live by? What are the myths, the legends that actually move you and motivate you, including like in the entire performance, especially when he opened up, he went from like table to table and he didn't even need to use words. He didn't even to speak English for you to understand the storytelling that was happening. And so what he did was, like when he was at the nail station, you knew what they were up to. When he gave the Grammy to the younger version of him, you knew what he was saying. And so his ability to tell the standards that he lives by and still speak his native tongue, which for him is Spanish. He's bilingual, right? He speaks Spanish and English and performs like 99% of the time in Spanish. And that hasn't prevented him from being the number 1 artist in the world and also creating this huge ripple effect of rebellion through joy since his performance on Sunday. Okay, so his standards are very clear. And a lot of times in your brand and the way that you communicate, you are not making your standards clear. And you think that you have to make them overt or say them exactly as they are. And sometimes it just has to come through your craft, your art, who you're affiliating with, and then what you speak about, right? And it doesn't always have to feel like a rebellion for you to share what your standards are. Because when you share what your standards are through your craft, people choose in. Or even better, they choose out. And the people that you want to choose out should know upfront, based on your standards, what those are. All right. The second thing to have a unique message and to build your brand, to go from a grocery bagger to Bad Bunny-esque type of impact, is your storytelling. And there are three types of stories. There are your authority stories, your approachability stories, and the stories you tell that allow people, if you understand the psychological imprint of how people make decisions and how they're attracted to things, I call them brand pheromone stories. What Bad Bunny did at the Super Bowl is he created, as I said a little bit earlier for the standards, he told the story of his standards through this visual, like, tiny activations all the way through his 13-minute performance. Okay. And so those are his approachability stories. He told the story of what he looked like while he was growing up. It honored his family and his legacy. It also honored his present self, which, like, even having the Grammy or having a few of his friends play a role, like Lady Gaga and Ricky Martin. And even, like, I don't know if y'all noticed, but Cardi B and Jessica Alba and Pedro Pascal were, like, dancing in the Marqueta, which is like, he had set up this whole, like, it's almost like a day in the life of basically in Puerto Rico, but also then he kind of shared outwards his authority stories, which again were like the Grammy, his new friends, his ability to, mix language and culture in a way that was relevant to all. His storytelling was very much based from an approachable and authoritative lens. And again, if you're like building a thought leadership brand, which is what I help people with, it's not about, do I want to become Bad Bunny? Obviously, it's about, how can I have that level of impact through my storytelling? And he also chose, which is the brand pheromone part of the storytelling, he chose the biggest stage in the world. You know that artists who sign up for the Super Bowl don't actually get paid a lot to do it. So imagine the level of choreography that he did to make his mark on the storytelling as well as the standards. I mean, to put together that 13-minute performance with everything that we were able to feast on as he did it was pretty extraordinary, right? And he was blanking us with brand pheromones. And even at the end, when he held up the symbolic football that says, "Together we are America," and then he had basically the quote that's mainly attributed to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., basically that love is stronger than hate. And then also him coming out with all the flags of the Americas, North America and South America. He was putting out standards and telling a story and putting up brand pheromones, different ways for us to engage, frankly, in the content. Okay. And then the third piece is the solutions. And this is particularly important for you if you are building a brand and you have things to sell. Your solutions should be directly supported by your standards and your stories. And a lot of times we compartmentalize them instead of integrate them into the solution. So the thing that I want you to do, and this is what Bad Bunny did, his solution was, I want to make unapologetic joy a way to rebel. And he did it with such love and care. And so his solution was actually inclusion. His solution was, obviously he's a performer. He's an artist. He sells tickets to make money in his career. In your career, in your business, do your solutions tie to the standards and the stories that you tell? A lot of times we think that every story is important. It's actually not. The stories that support your solutions are the most important stories to tell. The standards that why you live by are the most important standards to communicate. And so if your standards, your stories, and your solutions are in alignment, You'll have no problem enrolling the right people into your vision and enrolling people into your offers. And if you want to get better at that, at using what I call the unique message model, because I always believe that people don't have a marketing problem, they have a messaging problem. And if you want your brand to be what is really marketed, not just funnels and all that, you should probably DM me, and I'm happy to support you in that. Hopefully this was helpful, this breakdown of how Bad Bunny used the unique message model to truly create a ripple effect in the world that's still happening right now. I'm still feeling all of the chicken skin and the emotions and absorbing the communication mastery and unapologetic joy he did by being himself.